Yo, Elliott.
Yo, so today we got a question from a bro who wants to know, yo, Elliott, where does astrology fit in with Christianity? Great question, bro. But before we go, you ought to know my name is Elliott Hulse. I'm a strong man, strength coach. I've been making men strong here on YouTube since 2007, and you just stumbled upon my wisdom channel. If you're sick and tired of letting another year go by, and you're ready to make 2025 the best year of your life, then click the link down below or go to alphaschool.ai. I got something cool for you on the inside. Now, question, where does astrology fit in with Christianity, Elliott? You said in a previous video that you like astrology. Well, I don't want to cause you to sin. So take whatever I say with a grain of salt, make up your own mind, believe the church 100% or what the people are saying that are in the church. Don't listen to me. Don't believe me. I'm going to tell you what I think anyway. So, few things come to mind. Number one, Christmas time. And we know that around this time is the Epiphany. It's coming up here. This is where the three wise men show up at Mary's bedside seeking Jesus. These wise men come from, they say they may have come from Chaldea, right? Place where there's a lot of intelligent people reading the stars. Wise men, right? And so these guys, they lived the first guys to find Christ outside of the grace of God, meaning, the shepherds were there, of course, the animals in the manger, and, Mary and Joseph. These guys, they followed the stars. They literally followed the patterns that God gives us in the sky to find Jesus Christ. In fact, if you're a sailor at night, you know that you can you could create a map for yourself from where you are to where you want to go by reading the stars in the sky. In fact, that's how we did shit before we had a map. We'd look at the stars in the sky and it would give us an indication of what's going on. In fact, if you look up in the sky, it tells you what's going on all the time. I'm looking up at the sky right now and it's telling me that it's a nice day. It's a sunny day. There's some clouds today, and the weather is about 70. Am I lying? Am I wrong? Am I worshiping nature by just stating what I recognize? And guess what? I knew that the weather was going to be like this a year ago. A year ago, I knew the weather was going to be just like this right now. How I know? Patterns. It's wintertime in Florida. That's just the way it is. Right? Nature is always pointing to shit. Nature is always telling us what's going on. This is why we had like farmers' almanacs. Why wouldn't a Christian say, don't read the farmer's almanac? You never know when it's going to be a bad stormy season. You can't go by that book, but that book is just a book of fucking patterns. Farmers that paid attention. Seems like every 7 years there's a sort of a bug that comes out. Seems like every 11 years the storms come. And so they just paying attention to shit. And then they have pattern recognition. Are they trying to be psychics? No, they're not being psychics. They're just paying attention to what's going on and telling you what's going on. Is it going to happen? Look, I didn't know if today was going to rain or not. It said 50% rain. I had no idea. But I knew it would be just about this kind of weather. Can't predict it to the T, but I knew it would be around 70 degrees, and it's usually pretty nice winter in Florida. Where you're at may be different. But by recognizing that, all I'm doing is being a rational human being. That's what all is, right? So we know there's a time and a season for everything. We know that's biblical too. In the Bible, Solomon says, there's a time and there's a season for everything. Do you know the exact time for things to happen? No. But you know right around about what time it is. Look at the sky. Where's the sun? I can tell you this right around this time because there are hints, there are clues. It's December. I can kind of tell you based on the season what it's going to be like. Astrology is no different. Astrology is just pattern recognition. Astrology is just looking up and recognizing that what we take for granted here as time and seasons is expanded exponentially on God's time frame and his seasons, epochs, thousands of years. But we live in a fractal universe. So anything that's happening big happens small. That's why we know that there are times and seasons up there, but there's also times and seasons right inside here. There's a time and a season for my body. As a man, when I wake up in the morning, my testosterone's higher. That's why I have a boner. By nighttime, my testosterone drops, and so I want to go to sleep. As a woman, her cycle's a little bit longer. There's a time in the season where her testosterone's a little bit higher and she's feeling kind of frisky. There are times when her hormones are a little different and she's feeling kind of low. Their cycle follows the moon. Ours follows the sun. That's why we're sons. Sons of God. We're more dictated by the sun as a man based on the circadian rhythm than a woman is who's dictated, not to say that they're diametrically opposed or exclusively mutual, but a woman is more dictated by her moon cycle, by the cycles of the moon. Are we being sinners by noticing these patterns? So astrology, and of course, it's a profound science and an art. It's a science and an art. That's what's kind of beautiful about it, is that it's a science because there are patterns. That's what math is. Math is pattern recognition. It's an art because, you don't know the mind of God, so you can't predict anything. There's a pattern, we can recognize it, but there's God who creates events, God's fate. God's in charge. Now, I know in the Bible, in the Old Testament, it says, do not consult with astrologers. Well, I would say that's probably a good idea, because by consulting with anyone, even me, you're going to get a false reading. You're going to get a false opinion. Now, there are people that recognize patterns really well, and I happen to think that I am one of them, but I'll never tell you the truth. You do not know the truth. Do not take my advice. Same way you shouldn't take an advice from an astrologer or a psychic. These are people that might be tapped in, especially a psychic. They're not pattern recognizers. They're fully in the spirit. And that's a realm, that's a battlefield. So I don't know what spirit's in you, Holy Spirit or demonic spirit. So I'm not consulting with psychics. But somebody who's a mathematician, who's reading the stars and basically saying there's a general tendency around this time of the season for shit to happen this way, I say, hey, that's pretty fascinating. If you're born under a certain position, right? So because it's cycling, it's just spinning, there are going to be people that are born at the same time in the cycle during different years. And the same way that a fruit that is spawned during a particular type of year is going to be have a different flavor to it. People that are born at a certain month of the year, they got a certain flavor to them. It's just the season that you came here. If you got apples from one season, apples from another season, they're gonna be totally different. Different places on earth. You get Fiji apples and Washington apples, they're totally different apples. Why? Well, they were from different places and they were made at different times. They're gonna be different. Oh, but you're going to be the same? Oh, all y'all going to be the fucking same? And if you ask those farmers, they'll tell you there's a pattern to when they're going to come out good and there's a pattern to when they're going to come out bad. Right? Maybe you were just born under a bad sign on a bad day. That's why your life sucks and you're angry. Who the fuck knows? But it's not your fate. And it's not true. It's a pattern. It's a pattern. It's a pattern recognition. It's all it is, bro. Do not consult with consultants. You got to make up your own mind and you got to rest in the Lord. But you'd be a fool not to pay attention to patterns.